Boeing was set to soar or at least maintain altitude in 2024, but issues with the 737 MAX have set the company back again. Investors are wondering how much farther the stock will fall. Barron's senior writer Al Root joins the panel. Al, you got a very interesting story this week on Boeing. So you've been watching this company for a while. It is a mess. One of the theories I hear is that it's run by financial guys when really engineering guys focused on making planes should be in charge.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
And it's a mess. I agree with that. But how do we get here, right? So if you look at the period where the MAX jet was grounded worldwide after 2 deadly crashes, it was being run by Dennis Muhlenberg, who's actually an honorary fellow in the American Institute of Aeronautical and Astronomical Engineering.
Okay.
Right. So he was an engineer that didn't oversee. So I think you need good managers as well as good engineers, but you really need people making capital allocation decisions. If you compare over the last decade the amount of money that Airbus spends on R&D, plants and equipment compared to Boeing, Airbus spends more. It almost is just that simple. They put more money into the product, and those decisions of the past decade are coming home to roost.
So with bad decisions being made, how long does Dave Calhoun stay in the corner office? Is it time for a new CEO?
So Dave is in a tough spot. And, I don't necessarily want to make big splashy calls, he needs to go. In 2019, he was brought in to replace that engineer to get the MAX flying again. And he did that. So check mark for Dave. But, they've had tens of billions of debt, tremendous stress through the pandemic. He still has not invested in product, right? There is no new medium-sized aircraft. There's no MAX replacement on the horizon. So that's an X for Dave. This comes down to the question of, well, who would replace him? He won't be there forever because he is in that 65-plus age range. So they do need to identify the next manager, engineer or not, that can invest in product.
And, there have been some charges that Boeing has gone woke. And Elon Musk tweeted after some of the recent problems that the company's putting diversity ahead of safety. There was also the proxy about 2 years ago where the management comp plan was adjusted so that they began to emphasize diversity and climate when it had just been safety. You make anything of this?
Elon has made it a topic of discussion. He tweeted, people are dying because of DEI. That's literally one of his tweets. I don't think that's the case. Engineers, analysts, consultants don't think that's the case. How do we know this? Airbus would be as woke as Boeing, as measured by gender equality goals, number of women in the workforce, women on the executive council. These are numbers that are relatively readily available that we can compare. The disastrous MAX problems of 2018, 2019, this was before wokeness was in the lexicon. So it's not, I would call it irresponsible, but I don't think Elon cares. I don't think that's what's going on. Boeing itself, when this became a big kerfuffle, said, listen, we didn't change any safety goals. We simply added, some fairness language.
Well, either way, it seems like we're going to be talking about Airbus and Boeing exclusively going forward. Even after pouring billions of dollars into the project, even the Chinese can't really come up with an alternative.
Yeah, so there is a third aircraft maker in China, Comac. They have a plane. Western airlines are not going to buy this for a couple of reasons, but mostly because it isn't cost competitive with Airbus and Boeing technology. This is a heavily regulated, highly engineered industry. It takes tens of billions of dollars in a decade to make a new plane. That's one of the reasons that we've sort of coalesced around 2 people.
So, Al, I see a stock drop like this, and I'm thinking, I should be looking to buy. So should I be buying Boeing here?
I feel the way you do usually. I don't think Boeing is a buy here. And the reason is essentially, I like your thesis, buy peak fear. And we did that last year with Tesla. But with Boeing, the things that they need to do will take longer than you expect them to take. So the FAA is pressing down on production expansion. That will be a years-long process, not a month-long process. So I don't think the stock is going to go anywhere for about a year. I would love to get it in the 175, 185 range.
Well, one stock to look at is Airbus itself. You can buy the U.S. listed shares. It's better managed, better planes, better balance sheet, better free cash flow. trading for around 20 times forward earnings, and it's one that investors may want to take a look at.
I agree with you. I only said in the story you have to buy Airbus because you like Airbus, not because Boeing's a mess.
And we're out of time, but parts makers, you like those too?
I think this is a good environment for aftermarket parts because they're going to struggle to increase production. FTAI maintains engines, and TDG, TransDigm, is a big aftermarket part supplier.